colours of the cars, the names, the nationalities of the drivers, the power of the engines, even the source of the engines, and of course the money and the venues. But for 22 years, there's been one cheerful constant in Grand Prix racing, the man they call simply Uncle Ken.
As you know, there's a couple of the mechanics who were just going to get shit. All right, okay.
Ma invece quando ho trovato a voce.
Minus 1 plus the other. Yeah.
Grand Prix weekend, which this week comes to you from Montreal, home of the Canadian Grand Prix, round 5 of the fleet this time around. But first of all, let's have a look at the latest championship standings. Less than 2 weeks ago, Ayrton Senna led from start to finish.
Matt, really, there's only one driver whose name's on my lips, and of course it has to be Ayrton Senna. He's the most dominant man in Formula One currently, and we saw 2 weeks ago a great Grand Prix in Monte Carlo. He led the race from start to finish. Even if he had a problem and he complained about odd engine noises, he still could pace himself enough to take the checkered flag. And remember, last year here, he dominated the race as well, only to drop out a few laps before the end when his engine gave up. So Senna's got to be my man, and it's only going to be mechanical unreliability that's going to prevent him from winning.
Well, Thierry Boutsen won his first Grand Prix here last year in the rain, and again, rain is forecast for Sunday. What do you think of his chances?
Well, you're right in saying he won the race in the rain, but of course he didn't win it on merit. He won it because Senna did drop out. But he did drive a tremendous race. He didn't put a wheel wrong, and very, very difficult conditions. But I think the situation for him in 1990 is going to be much the same as 89. He will be following one of those McLaren Hondas, and if it falls out, he will be there.
Well, earlier on, you had the chance to drive around this circuit with Andrew Marriott in the passenger seat. Let's take a look now at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit from the driver's view.
John, here we are in the pit lane. It's very challenging Montreal track, and you're going to give us a rundown. It's relatively low speed and show us where the braking points are, the overtaking points, and the several very tricky corners here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yes, well, the circuit really is, it's on a very narrow island, and it comprises straights, a lot of chicanes or left-right very tight corners, which are relatively low speed. But there's one very, very fast section of the circuit, the bit that leads back to the start-finish line, and that's the bit we'll come to just on the end of this lap. But here we are now, just after the start, coming into another one of these funnel or bottlenecks. It's a tight second gear left-hand corner, keeping the car tight to the left, because really it's the exit of the corner, the right-hander, that you want to get correct. And one of the features of this circuit, and we're watching it now in preparation for the Grand Prix, is it tends to be at first a very fine, low-grip surface, but it tends to be also very dusty. And throughout the weekend, that can be a problem. So that corner, the right-hand corner, second gear, accelerating third gear and fourth gear, all the way down. In fourth gear, all the way down to what some people optimistically look upon as being an overtaking spot, but really, because all the cars are accelerating hard, they haven't reached a terminal speed. It's not a very easy place to pass, but some will do it and slide down on the inside, taking second gear. Watching these curbs, they're very high, and if you cock a wheel up against it, it can throw the car offline. Again, getting the second part, the left-hand part right, you let the car run out, kissing the curbing on the outside, then getting back again onto the left. It's a straight line through this really quite quick section of the circuit, and a part that actually I enjoyed very much, because you get the car in really tight to the wall, you hug the wall all the way around, letting the car then drift out before you have to come on the brakes hard again. And from fifth gear, you're back down into second gear. Like all the corners in the circuit, they are slippery, so you have to be, I think, rather slow on the entry and try and be precise and pick up the throttle early and then accelerate progressively, rather than rushing into the corner, sliding and having the car unstable. But exiting the right-hand corner, you take third gear very quickly, and then it's third, fourth, fifth, and sixth gear. In the case of Ferrari, they've got 7 gears. This part of the circuit, this is now the back side of the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, probably reaching about 160 miles an hour down this straight. You notice there are various surface changes, and particularly when it's wet, you've got to be very cautious and aware of those things. You've also got manhole covers in little recessed dips. All those are features of really what is a road track. This is not a racetrack in the common sense of the word. It's actually a road track, and you have to bear in mind all those things. But now we're coming onto the bridge, and again we've got a change of surface, and this is really one of the spots I used to enjoy, because I found the change of light and various surface changes, people tended to be a little bit apprehensive turning into the corner. I could pass down the inside, and again now you've got a second gear right. The exit of this is very important. You take third gear just about on the apex and letting the car slide, drift out of the corner, but it's important to be clean here, because this is the part of the circuit that leads to what I consider to be the major overtaking venue.
John, coming out of this corner is another place where there's very little runoff area.
Well, if you stop on this part of the track, you want to stop on the inside, not the outside, because you've got 3 feet or so of grass, and then you've got a wall. And there aren't cranes around this circuit like you would have on a on a regular street track. So getting rid of cars, you rely on the crews in what they call their wrecking, or their wreckers, which are trucks with big tow hooks on them. I don't like that feature of this race. I think it's dangerous to put vehicles out like that on a racetrack in a form where in Formula One we're not used to having wreckers on the track. So that's one of the aspects I'm not happy about, but in this situation there's not a lot of choice.
Now, coming down to this bottom hairpin, a very famous overtaking spot, seen some exciting manoeuvres here over the years.
Yes, it's probably the most popular spot on the circuit to try and overtake, but because it's popular, everybody knows about it and they try to guard themselves. But in spite of that, people will go down the inside, and it doesn't really matter, because if you get in the inside, you spoil the other person's line anyway. It's a second gear corner, you can afford to run very wide, and you'll see cars running right out to the barrier, so you can actually lose time passing somebody but not lose the position that you've just taken. So second gear, accelerating out third gear, and we're now coming on to what is the fastest part of the circuit here, taking fourth gear. This is the old start-finish line. This is where the pits were when I raced here in '83, and it looks rather strange to me now to see bleachers, as they call them here, and the old administration building.
Really accelerating hard down here, and then this very fast right-hander, of course.
Yeah, this is the part of the circuit that is undoubtedly the most exciting. It's bumpy coming in here. In the Formula One cars we have today, it's big. There's no movement whatsoever, so it's flat out through here. And the left-hand part is a commit. You have to basically commit to going through it without seeing what's in the exit. So in fact, it's a really exciting part of the circuit. Sometimes people do spin, and you rely very heavily on marshalling and getting flag signals to warn you that there is a car and a problem. But it's a great place to get right. When you do it correctly, you think, well, that was good, but very, very fast.
And how physical is this track? Because it's very technical, obviously.
It's technical. I've also felt that it's one of the most physical tracks of the calendar. I don't know why it is. You seem to be working all the time, and you don't really have a chance to recover. And we're coming now down to another part of the circuit that's very quick. This is now the entrance to the pit on the left-hand side, but you go through this chicane
Up on
the curb, and we're going to see that happen. And that's fifth gear, if not even sixth gear. In qualifying, I wouldn't be surprised to see one or two people trying to go through there in sixth gear. Certainly not flat out, but just maybe breathing the engine. And I tell you, that's over 170 miles an hour, and it's very, very quick. And the road is also, at that speed, extremely narrow.
Well, John, that's a lap of this Montreal circuit, and we're looking forward to a superb race here.
Well, let's hope the race is a little bit drier than it was last year. We had a very wet race in 1989, and I'm looking forward to seeing.
12 months on, you're back at the circuit where you had your first victory. Fond memories, of course.
Sure, very great memory here. I like this circuit very much, and it's given me my first win in Formula One, and I was very, very happy to be back here in Montreal.
Would you say that was the race of your life? Because your Australian victory maybe meant more to you.
Well, it was, I mean, the first one is always very, very important, but I got the victory a bit like a present because Senna dropped out 2 minutes before the end. I mean, of course, he had a problem with the car, and the thing is that you have to finish the race to win it, and I was there. But it was quite a good race because at one stage I was, due to my tire change, I was 1 minute 45 behind, and I fought back, and you know, I've been driving very, very hard to come back into the lead, and when Senna stopped, I was less than 15 seconds behind him. So I think it was quite a good race for me, and he had to push hard, I had to push hard, and I won the race. I was very happy about it.
A racing driver's life these days is pretty hectic. Just tell us about your schedule since Imola.
Well, since Imola, quite busy, I would say. On Thursday before the race in Imola, I was at Donington testing new brake system. Flew there direct to Imola for the Grand Prix on Friday morning, testing for the Grand Prix. After Imola, we went to Cointreau for 3 days to test the car, test a new type of engine for the Monte Carlo Grand Prix. On the Tuesday before the Monte Carlo Grand Prix, we were at Ricard to run in the gearboxes. A long weekend at Monaco starting on the Thursday morning. After that, we went back to Ricard straight away on the Tuesday for testing Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I had a rest.
Now, your wife is about to make you a father. Do you think that's going to change your driving style at all? Would it make you a little bit more careful, perhaps?
A bit more aggressive, maybe, because I have something new in my life, and no, I don't think it will change anything. I will see racing the same as before. I will drive as aggressive as I can, as fast as I can. I will enjoy life more, I think, because I will have a baby, but That will come. I don't think too much about it at the moment. It's still quite a little bit of time before it comes, more than 1 month. So I will see when it's there, really.
You're very strong with yourself, aren't you? The way you conduct your life, your eating habits, your sleeping habits. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, to be a racing driver, top driver in Formula 1, you need to be very fit, first of all. So I do a lot of jogging, a lot of sports behind or on the side of driving Formula 1 car. Of course, these days I've been driving a lot, but also running a lot and doing some exercises. And the thing is, to be fit, you need to sleep well, sleep enough, to be aggressive all the time, to be 100% yourself, and that's most important. You have also to eat what is necessary to give you a lot of energy and enough vitamins and to recover quickly, but it's very important.
I read you slept 10 hours a night, is that correct?
Depends on which night. Some nights it's a little bit less, but I try to sleep as much as I can to be fit all the time.
One final question, Terry. Rumours in the press that you might rejoin Arrows. What do you say about that?
I'd say nothing at all. That's the first time I hear that.
I should read the British press. It's full of it. Okay, thanks for talking to us. Maybe you can make it 2 in a row here.
Well, I will try to. I'll do the best I can to do that.
Thierry Boutsen in quite...
Spacious pits at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit are abuzz with mechanics tackling jobs as complex as the sport's space-age technology demands. Most of the teams have been here since the beginning of the week to adjust to the time difference, and the engineers make use of the extra hours to double-check the machinery ahead of 5 rigorous practice sessions and, of course, the race itself. But while some mechanics are interested in the cars, others have their minds on boats and the annual pit crew raft race. Nigel Mansell looks on as his Ferrari mechanic Luca Sociali unveils a revolutionary new design for this year's race. The Ferrari craft is somewhat against the spirit of the event. It's more of a powerboat than a raft. The Arrows mechanics demonstrate a balance problem aboard their less streamlined vessel, which looks uncannily like an unmodified packing case. 6-wheelers may be banned on the track, but Team Minardi aren't too bothered. The boys from Maranello obviously had trouble translating the word rowing. Instead, their power comes from a converted generator. That makes the pilot's job somewhat simple, but he was cheered on nonetheless. Just as on race day, pit stops are a vital part of this event. 100 meters from the start, Luca Sociali docks the Ferrari and disembarks to claim a piece of ribbon, and then it's back on board for the homeward leg. No real need for speed at this point. The opposition are way up the creek with precious little means of propulsion, certainly none to compare with the Maranello 2-stroke. No evidence of a flying front wing on the 1990 Tyrrell. In fact, nothing flying about this vessel, although the boys from Ockham are in second place. Last year, Williams won this race and the Grand Prix. This time, they're back in third. 50 meters and at least 5 minutes ahead of the pack, the revolutionary new Ferrari cruises to victory. Signor Sociali needs his 5-minute lead to clear off before the protests start. In second place, the moral victors from Team Tyrrell, while the Arrows boat has never really behaved like anything other than a big wooden box. Ferrari, meanwhile, nursed their winning design out of the water. Next stop, a museum, or maybe a certain swimming pool on the Isle of Man.